Quite often I get messages out of the blue from people living in my local area saying, would you like my old Dyson? It doesn't work one way or another. I bought a new one. Do you want to save it for the tip? And here we are with such a machine, a Dyson DC40 Mark 1 with the active base plate but no slider head. It seems okay on the face of it. We've got to work out what's wrong, see if it's worth fixing, and well, see if by the end of it we have a decent DC40 ready to refurbish. Yes, hello my vacuum cleaner chums, how are you today? Yes, this is a very boring Dyson DC40 in the colour that was the cheapest. These sold by the millions, I would imagine, and yeah, still very common indeed, and a very nice machine they are too, although this one may be hiding some sort of secret. We don't know yet. We're going to go through it and find out, and hey, along the way we could do a little bit of learning. So you've just picked up an unknown Dyson DC40, and before you go putting any time, effort or money into it, we must see if it's worth doing. So first thing that I always check is the hose. Take off the wand. The wand's okay. Aha, there we go. Look, we have ourselves a torn hose. Ooh, bummer. I think I might have a spare, which we'll have to see. So immediately we need a hose. Okay. The bin is here. It's seems okay, but crikey, that filter is a bit crispy. So DIY use on this one. As per usual, no real surprises there. Let's take off the ball, because this then tells us the state of the filter and the internal hoses. And the simplest way to do this is just to take out the post motor filter. Oh, a little bit stiff. Come on. Eventually it goes loose enough and you can just roll it around with your fingers. But if it doesn't, you've got to do all this. Oh dear. Oh, it's not even on. Ooh. New set of filters aren't going to go amiss. Doesn't smell burnt out, but crikey, that is a lot of carbon dust sat under there. Next thing you can do, look, is peek into there. You can't see it terribly well, but if we do that, we can see that this inner hose, which is getting quite hard to find because they do split, it's up there. There it is, look, that little one there that goes with the changeover valve, that has a big habit of splitting, and this one's not too bad, so that's good. In theory, all of this is okay, I think. The thing that she said didn't work was the brush roll. Oh, now you're going to do it until it clicks. Are you ever going to click? There we go, that click there. Now the thing that the lady said wasn't working was the brush roll itself. So we'll take that off and actually have a quick check of the pivot lock here, which is immaculate. Normally it's got half of it snapped off and then the whole machine lollops sideways. That is very good. What's also very good is that for our Mark 1 head, this centre wheel is perfect. Normally that can wear literally down into the housing and not be terribly good at all. But there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with that. The brush roll's perhaps a little bit worn, but nothing to dictate that it's jammed. The problem is that when these die, it's usually the brush roll motor. So who knows? Equally, we've just taken it on and off. Maybe whatever the little problem was, we could have just fixed it by, you know, reconnecting the electrical connection. So all we need to do now is turn the thing on and see if indeed the brush roll isn't working, and also what the main motor sounds like. We have some power, let's turn it on. Bless it, that filter is cream cracker, isn't it? Let's take that off and then we'll try again. That's what that noise is. If you have one of these or a DC25 or 24, they're terrible for it. The filter's clogged and the air is doing all it can to escape from everywhere else bar the clogged up filter. We put this back on now. That'll do. It should. Aha! Sound fine! Whoa! Yeah! The brush roll is indeed dead. So, time to troubleshoot. And first thing we're going to start with is actually up here, and we'll have a quick check of the switches. In order to get to our switch, we need to undo some screws, which are here. One there, one here, and one here. Then there are two little tabs which you just need to push and then move, which then lets all of this fall out here. That gives us access to our switches, where we have the reset switch, which could be the problem. I don't know really. Can we get it out? I think it's okay. There is again a fairly easy way to check. Oh, let's move that so that my camera doesn't focus on the spine rather than the switches. That would be silly, wouldn't it? Right, multimeter on. And we'll put the brush roll switch on. That's fine. And this is okay. And we know the main switch is fine. So, as I slightly suspected, the switches are okay. Put that back in there. But one of the other reasons I like to have it off is that I've known this to all fall apart internally. And that obviously means that the switch doesn't get pushed. So it's always a slightly good idea to have a peek at the switch pack before you go too far. But it's not the problem here. So we can put that back on and we'll do all the screws up, and then we're actually next going to look at in here, because we may as well go straight to this and see if it's blown one way or the other. So the next place we need to look is in here. So we shall start by removing the base plate, which comes off like so. Then I actually need to change the bit in my driver, which I forgot about, because we have some crosshead screws to undo, which take out the brush rolls, which you need to do, I'm afraid. So we'll take these out. One there, one there, one there, and one here. These are crosshead screws, little thin tiny ones. And then, although you do hurt your fingers a bit if you're not careful, you need to sort of lift and pull the brush rolls out, which is done. How we can go back to our T15 talks and carry on with the rest. And the first thing we need to do is, oh, that's not a T15, is it? That's that is smaller. God, problem with Dysons, and it's even worse with the newer ones, they just use such different sizes everywhere. What we need to do is take out these brush roll drive cogs, because otherwise nothing comes out. But yes, they are a size less than the other one. So take that out, take this in, and there's one, and here's two, and then they just pull out like so. Oh, fluff absolutely everywhere. Oh, we're missing a screw. There it is. Fabulous. Now back to the bigger Torx bit, and then we can remove the firewall, which is 3 screws here. that lifts out, and yet all the dust that compacts itself in comes out like so. Let's put those screws there. Then there's two back here. And with that, this top bit lifts off like so. Oh, here is our motor. Don't yet know how terrible it is, but looking at the whole thing, it's all yucky anyway. So there is a high possibility. Oh, I didn't bring my little pokey screwdriver in order to remove these electrical connections, and then two more here and here, and the motor just lifts out like so, and we can start to take it apart a bit and work out what is going on. Now you can sort of see the armature, so the first thing that I always do is I turn it just to see if it does turn, and it does. It turns okay. We'll take off this rubber piece because it hides so much fluff and grit, and that's probably what kills these off. They just fill up with fluff and then they die. Johnston motor here, they don't have the best reputation anywhere. Anyway, and all the segments of the com seem to be okay. So I don't think it's that as such. I'm hoping it's not the loom that's in the machine, which might be broken. We should probably have a look at that. So yeah, next thing on our troubleshooting ways is to have a look at the machine, although we might take the carbon brushes out and check this motor out. It doesn't look like it's burnt though. Normally there's a big black splodge where, you know, the armature's deaded itself. Doesn't smell too bad. We could also try it with a spare one somewhere. I wonder if I've got one. Let's have a go. With our brush roll housing under, you know, investigation or just curiosity, we are going to unearth the loom that runs down here, and also actually check the PCB, because that could have popped. In fact, that's possibly where we could have started, because they do like to know, especially with the state of this thing. But equally, you know, got to start somewhere. Oh, this hose doesn't look great though. Who knows? Right, with that off, we'll flip it back around and pop this off to get to all the other screws that we need. And you can take it off with just a pair of needle nose pliers by putting in half twist and then using them again to undo this big plastic nut, which will go a bit loose, and then you can spin it off as well like the rest of it. Oh my goodness, state of this. Right, with that off, we can now undo these two screws under here. One there, one here. And then, carefully, this bit all lifts out, and already actually I can see an issue. That should go around the loom. In fact, it should sit pretty much there. The fact that it's not is a bit telling. Can we get this loom out? Just to see. Oh, it's fiddly though. Ah, yes, look. That's our problem. We have ourselves a nice, simple, snapped loom. Excellent. Lovely. So, okay, that's cool actually. I don't mind that, because I've hopefully got a spare loom here, which came from a DC41, but the parts are identical. In fact, I think they are. This is 1161872A. This one is, oh yeah, completely different. But, you know, we could do something with it. I think they are the same, even if the routing's a bit different. So, now we get the fun of removing the PCB. So, take that off. Then, there's some more screws here. And here. And there's one more under there. And then, where's my little screwdriver? Ah, I did bring one. Just pop little tabs up on the side. like so, and then we can see our printed circuit board, which I suppose I best check isn't blown up. It's not. The loom plugs into here, and then got to push the grommet out of there. The plug will come with it. Oh yeah, look, the whole thing's wrapped around the wrong. I think somebody's been in here before, you know. Ugh. Always a pain when that happens. Right, so we'll have that out, this out, and then, oh, come on. Just, aha, there we go, look, there is our issue. Lovely. Now, in theory, yes, I think this is identical in pretty much every way. So we best move that so we don't put the broken one back in. We can start to feed this back through. So start with the plug. This is all going to come apart again for cleaning afterwards, but you know, we've got to check it works first because it needs a set of filters at the very least and a hose, so it needs some money spending on it. I want to check that it works okay. And we'll do that, and then we'll push this rubber boot in. There we go. Marvellous. Then you just got to really feed it down and through. There's not a lot to it. Whether you got a used loom like I have, or you buy a new one, you can't really solder it up reliably because it all moves. Your solder joint then becomes the weakest link, which, yeah, does make it a bit of a pain. I have done it before, especially on a DC25, where it's not quite such an involved stripped down job, but I do not recommend it. Purely because the looms themselves are cheap anyway. This would only be a couple of pounds from eBay, even if we did buy a new one. They're so common. Typical Dyson. They don't want their machines to last very long because obviously people won't go and buy new ones, so they build it with rubbish so that it dies. Oh, is this the difference between the two? No, that's identical. This is fiddly, this part, because you have to get it. Oh, got to get these wires pushed in properly. You've got to tuck all the way down there, and then this will sit in. So I'm going to get that done and get all this back together, and we'll see if our new loom, which it should have done, I'll be honest, fixes our issue. No, I won't see you when it's all done. I will see you now, because it does turn out that these plugs are very different. However, I think we can get around this small little problem by popping this up, if I can, come on, without stabbing myself in the finger. Then look, we can just pop the leads out, although I want to keep a check of which way they went in because I want them back in. I know there is a plus anyway on here, so it doesn't actually matter if you pop it in. Plus is black. We should just be able, black is that side, so we'll put the black in there to swap the plug round, which could be quite handy if you can't find the correct loom. They all seem to be the same wiring, wires. It's just a different plug. And in theory, this is probably now going to fit pretty much straight in. Oh yes, look at that, perfect. Right, so yeah, you can use the loom, but you have to swap around the actual plug. As you can see, I wrote DC40. This is from the DC41 that we scrapped because it wasn't worth repairing. You see, always keep spare parts. Right, back to the assembly. So with our brush roll back together, does it work? No, it doesn't. The brush roll does not turn. Does not work. What I've also done is swapped the motor. You can fit a DC41 motor into a DC40. This is the one that came out of it, and you just have to swap the connector, the end, and the plastic bit. And it was not that. I also had another close look at the PCB, and that doesn't seem blown either. So this is one of those situations where the thing was free anyway. I'm just gonna not bother doing anything more to it. This is now a breaker machine because I've spent a couple of hours on it now, and well, wasn't that pointless. It needs filters and it needs a hose, and yeah, despite having a known working motor in this with a known working loom, could be the PCB, but I don't think I quite fancy spending the money to find out, especially when it will need the hose and stuff anyway. Yeah, I haven't got a DC40 PCB, sadly. I've only got a 41, and they are physically different, annoyingly. So, another failure, I suppose. But then again, is it? Because these machines are at the height of their worthlessness. Literally, they are being thrown away left, right and centre. And yeah, I could spend a lot of money making it good again, refurbishing it, but I could probably just wait, or you know, go onto Facebook and buy one with a working brush roll and broken everything else for like a £5. And that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this in the shed because bodily it is good. Bodily it's not too bad. It's just mechanically it is pretty crackered. So yeah, I think this is going to be a parts machine or a breaker, or you know, who knows, one day we might have it back out again to fix another Dyson DC40, or you know, make one good one out of two. But for now, I'm afraid that yeah, if your brush roll stops working on a DC40, it could be the switch, it could be the PCB, it could be the motor, and you can have a look at all of them, and it doesn't seem any the wiser. So it's either throw money at the problem or just admit that they are worthless, old, and there isn't really much to be gained from spending a horrific amount of money on it when I've got other vacuums which need some love. Look, there's the end frame and the DC41 end thing that you need to swap over. So, sorry folks, nice free Dyson, but it's not one that's going to do anything at the minute. Who knows, you might see it another day when we come armed with some more parts to just swap over. It's the problem with these Dysons, you just got to throw parts and money at them until something sticks. There's very little that you can do that, you know, is blatantly what it is. It's all just guesswork. So, sorry about that. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed and learned something. Comment below if you had a sod like this where you do everything that you normally do and yet it still doesn't work. If you had any of those, comment down below and we can all have a group cry together. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and I, and maybe this, will see you soon. Bye bye.